Going back to the beginning, I first drank ayahuasca, I want to say at 16. Could have been early 17s, but I was not very old at all. To a church that no longer exists anymore in the United States. That was where I first drank. And yeah, that's where I'm going to start today. And as these integration videos, the integration diaries move forward, if I continue to keep doing them, I'll decide, as not so much off the success of the video, just how I feel after doing them and if I want to keep making this type of content. But we'll move from where it all began to now and to the future as that kind of goes on, to what's present for me at the time of making these videos. So starting out when I was 16. When I was 16 and I first drank ayahuasca, I didn't actually want to. No one forced me to. It was nothing like that. But I was in a situation where someone in my life was really struggling, and I found ayahuasca, or a place to do ayahuasca nearby, and realized that it would be good for them. They were struggling with addiction. And so I decided to go, or they wanted to go, and I ended up fronting the money. We got them set up, and right before they were about to go, they said they were too afraid to go alone, so I ended up going as well, and the church happened to accept people of my age. So I set off to a church to drink ayahuasca at 16, switching hands here. And that was definitely one of the pivotal changes in my life, and I'm going to get to that as these episodes go on. But what exactly happened that day for me, and what exactly happened that weekend for me? Because at that time, with that place, it was 2 ceremonies that I was taking in a weekend. So I drank ayahuasca twice, back to back. Firstly, when I arrived there, everyone thought it was pretty normal of my age. I even had people kind of praising me for deciding and being called to do ayahuasca so early in my life. And it's so interesting because I wouldn't consider myself having been called to do ayahuasca. However, I do know in later years, this was a while ago that this happened, I do know in later years that ayahuasca calls people in very mysterious ways. So at the time I wouldn't have said that I was called, but nowadays I'm not so sure. But yes, I didn't feel called, and everyone was kind of telling me, it was good that I was there so early. And I was walking into this situation thinking I was helping someone else. I was 16 and I was like, I don't need this. I've got everything figured out. At least, that everything that's within my own life. I was obviously in school and studying and knew I didn't know everything, but it's very much like that's that whole 16-year-old like protect my mind mindset, which, made me think everything was okay at home, everything was okay with my friends and everything. And that was the big kind of that was like my mentality going into it. And for those of you that have done ayahuasca before that are watching this, and you're probably thinking to yourself like, oh Lord, that kid was in for it. That 16-year-old Dylan was in for it. And you are not wrong. I really was. It's kind of like I saw the world through these rose-colored glasses, and I'm going to get into the actual ayahuasca experience and what happened, but it was kind of like I had seen the world through these rose-colored glasses that were meant and designed to protect me, and ayahuasca kind of just ripped them off. So yes, obviously I learned a lot there, but I remember thinking at the time that the whole ritual was really silly, that why are people going about doing it this way? I didn't fully understand, like I understood from a chemical and like science understanding what psychedelics did, but I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into. It's one thing to understand what the color of red looks like because you've seen it, and another thing to understand what the color of red is because someone's described it to you. And I was working off the understanding of someone describing it to me. Oh Lord, my dog's good friend Mila has arrived. Only havoc will break loose from here on. Anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on them. Sorry if I'm a little spacey. She likes to take him off with him, so I'm gonna try to keep it as streamlined as possible. I was coming at it, I was thinking the whole ritual was silly. Like, why are they going about things this way? I didn't fully understand what the psychedelic was gonna do to me. And we sat down. I did follow along the best I can, but from that whole, like, what is this? This is dumb type thing. Like, let's just take the ayahuasca. Let's get it done. I was also kind of impatient a little bit at that age, and that's something that's gotten better for me with age. I drink the cup, and I'm sitting there, and it takes a while to kick in, and that's something they expressed to me, but I think because I was so young and I was so used to having things in front of me distracting me, I didn't fully understand time yet. So sitting there, they said it was going to take about an hour and a half to kick in, and there was no clocks or anything to reference for time. So like I felt like I was sitting there forever. And this was before I even felt the effects of the ayahuasca. Like I genuinely, sober Dylan was like, I've been here for hours now. What is going on? Everything was quiet. There was just music going on. I'm not a big music fan. And especially at that time, I've grown to like it more. At that time, I was not a music fan. So yeah, I was sitting there, and eventually, I don't think I recognized what I was starting to feel, because I didn't really understand what it was that I was supposed to feel. But at some point, I went from this thing of I'm not feeling anything to I'm feeling everything, and it was a very quick transition. I didn't feel like the creep up that people were describing. Like it was like boom, all of a sudden, I realized I wasn't sober anymore. And I was actually laying in the grass under the stars looking up. And this is important for a few different things, but I was under the stars looking up, and as I was looking up, first of all, it seemed like the stars were moving, but nothing out of the ordinary. I just remember I never realized the stars moved that much, and I think they were genuinely moving. I think in my mind they were genuinely moving. I don't think that it was like natural star movement, but at the time it was just enough to where I didn't really think of it too much. And then I heard the buzzing of like mosquitoes, and that was the first thing that I really kind of came up against in that ceremony. Was there were mosquitoes everywhere. I was getting eaten alive, man. I remember I was trying to like hide myself under the thing. I never realized that I got bit by mosquitoes that much. This was in Florida, so. Quick reflection for you. Clarity doesn't usually come as certainty. What it does come as a quiet whisper in your mind telling you that it's time to act. And for most people, they know exactly what they want, but where they struggle is trusting that impulse enough to move forward with it. If you consider yourself an ambitious person, but often gets caught in indecision, I help people like you every day turn clarity into action. If that sounds interesting to you, check out the links in the top of the description below. Let's get back to the video. And it made me really, really uncomfortable, but the psychedelics were getting stronger and stronger. So the source of this uncomfortability became less and less apparent. In the very beginning, I was cognizant of the fact that it was mosquitoes, but as time went on, it was just like, almost like cosmic discomfort, like the suffering of being alive, I guess, is what I was kind of connecting it to. Like, I didn't realize the mosquitoes were there anymore. I stopped swatting at them. I stopped. So I guess in that sense, it did creep up on me. But from my experience, I went 0 to 100 to 160. So it didn't really, yeah, anyway. So then I was staring up at these stars, and it was kind of like watching a movie in front of my eyes. And I started overseeing different periods in my life. And I was just kind of watching it, and I started to begin to get this idea that I never actually lived. All of those things that I was seeing was just cosmic distractions, or just like my own creations of distractions to try to distract myself from this cosmic suffering that I've been experiencing. And these things are just there to distract me from that suffering. So like me being born, me being with my family, all the things that I've experienced were just different experiences that I had put in front of myself. It was a dark ceremony for me. So I did oversee my entire life. And you know how they say when you get in a car crash or something and you're about to die, like your life flashes before your eyes? For me, I guess that's what it was, because I did feel like I was dying. So the life flashing before my eyes was me redoing and re-seeing my life, but from an outer perspective, outside of my body, and watching it over. And it was a really difficult watch. I mean, I have trauma growing up that I don't care to dive into in this series, because I don't think it's important. All of it. I think as it becomes important, I will introduce it. But I did have trauma in my life, and yeah, this kind of like, it was all sitting there, and then all of a sudden I noticed that people were walking around me, and I didn't realize that I was in an ayahuasca ceremony. I just realized, okay, there are other people watching their life too. I need help. So as someone was walking by, and I still feel bad about this to this day, someone was walking by and I grabbed their ankle. It was someone that was helping. It wasn't a guest. It was someone that was supposed to be helping. And I grabbed their ankle really tightly. And I think I hurt them, not seriously hurt them, but you know, when someone grabs you a little bit too hard, it's like painful. So I still feel bad about that to this day, even though I don't fully believe that it was my fault. But as I was gripping them, they kind of like yanked their leg away, and all I could say is like, I'm so sorry. And then they left. And I remember sitting there, I believe it was a woman that I grabbed her ankle, and and they left. And from there on, I was kind of in that space thinking that nothing was gonna end. I think I was there for like 12 hours. Maybe I was there for like 10, which is way beyond a normal psychedelic experience. But also, a lot of these people, what they didn't realize is I didn't smoke anything, I didn't drink anything, I didn't take anything before doing ayahuasca. This was my first out of mind, out of body experience from any sort of substance ever. So that was night one for me, and that's still something that I unpack to this day. And I feel like that's a good stopping point, because I'm noticing that I've been going on for about 11 minutes. So in the next episode that I do for my integration diaries, I'm going to do my best to break apart that ceremony and talk about the next one. Or maybe I'll talk about the next one and then break both of them apart. But yeah, that was my first experience with ayahuasca. It was difficult. It taught me a lot, but it taught me a lot that I didn't want to know. And I often wonder, would I go back and redo it? No, I wouldn't go back and undo that experience. But I often wonder how my life would be different if I had never taken ayahuasca that day. And I think in some ways it'd be better, in some ways it'd be worse. But I think in the majority it'd be, I don't want to say worse, but not as, I don't think I would be anywhere near the person that I am today if I hadn't taken those. I do think that is like one of those, if you've seen Inside Out, like those pivotal marbles, I think that is one that will stay there for the rest of my life. That being said, I'll see you soon for the next one.